We're looking at our final rankings, Williamson and Peacock's rankings for the 2025 NFL Draft. Defensive linemen, edge rushers, defensive tackles. We've got some stand-up guys. We got some hand-in-the-ground guys. We got some nose tackles. A huge class of defensive linemen for the 2025 Draft right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there hanging with us as we break down the NFL Draft, getting you ready every day for that 2025 season. And if you're new to the program, join on in, hang out with us daily. You can subscribe on YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And we're talking D-line today, and this is a big episode because this is the strength of the 2025 NFL Draft. There are tons of guys in every shape and flavor that you could ask for an NFL team, and I think it's going to be the most fascinating position. It's going to dominate round one. It's going to dominate day two, and probably a lot of guys day three. The question is, how do teams look at each one of these prospects? Because, and I think it's a perfect example, Matt, as we break down the defensive linemen. The team you cover, the Pittsburgh Steelers, traditionally the 3-4 team, you can employ a true nose tackle, a 5 technique defensive end, a stand-up outside linebacker / edge rusher. And the San Francisco 49ers, the team I cover, it's a 4-man front. And you might be looking for different things at every single spot. And so those two rankings are probably not going to align.
No, these are going to have to be somewhat generic rankings. And my Steeler rankings are a lot different than these, and frankly, I get a lot of heat because, I don't know, Mason Graham is my top defensive tackle for the Steelers. I mean, I just don't see a fit. Where if I was the Niners, probably would be.
Right.
But I do think, to your point about the top 3 rounds, some sort of defensive front player, edge all the way down the nose, and everyone in between. There's 100-pound difference maybe from some of these edge guys to some of these noses. I think that's going to make up about 40% of the picks in the top 3 rounds. Yeah. And I think the Eagles' success lends itself to that too,
Feels like it's going to be 60%.
It might be more. Yeah, I'm being conservative.
It's
40 guys. It's
a good class. And so it'll be fascinating to see which teams. And so when I'm doing a mock draft, I'm really looking for fit there. And so as we do these rankings, though, we just get to say, hey, we think this is the best player. And as long as he goes to the right spot, he's going to be awesome. And we're going to start with the edge rushers, the defensive ends, stand-up types, and the ones that will go first because Abdul Carter's the number 1, and he's going to be gone in the first 3, at worst, first 4 picks of this draft.
Yeah, and he is number 1 for me as well. And I'm hard at the top. I'm hard on the top of the draft. I don't think it's a great year to pick 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's not a lot of high quality, positions or players at positions that are hard to find. And Carter to me is a very, very, very good prospect, but he's not quite Bosa coming out of Ohio State or Myles Garrett. I don't think he's one of the best edge prospects I've seen, but he's definitely the best edge prospect in this class.
His archetype, his ability, his explosive movements off the edge. And I think he did enough in the pre-draft lead up. You didn't really need to see a lot. He's explosive, but 6'3", 250, 33-inch arm length, right? It's just okay, cool. You got all the things that we're looking
enough. Yeah.
He's not, a dynamic run defender off the edge. He's a former off-ball linebacker, right? So he's going to be that undersized speed variety. You're hoping you get Von Miller is what you're hoping you get with Abdul Carter. That's the archetype you're looking for. And that's sometimes hard to find because if you're not quite that good of a pass rusher, you don't have the most ridiculous bend and explosive ability off the edge in the world, and you're not an amazing run defender, you could see how that pick could be he's good, but he's not in that elite category of edge rusher.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And he's going to go in the top 3 picks, and he should in this draft, but I don't know that he's a transcendent, Pro Bowl after,
which might be the reason that, one non-quarterback goes in front of him, which is Travis Hunter potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond,
then it gets interesting.
Is our edge one. I mean, ridiculous talent off the edge. You just got to swing on that if you're whatever team that is at the top of the draft. So after that, it gets a little bit more dicey and a little bit more difficult to break these guys down. And so for me, I'm not there with Jalon Walker.
I struggle with it too.
I think he's consensus edge 2 in this class. But man, 6'1", 243. And so you're betting on the athlete, right? You're betting on the character and everything else. And the way he rushes is, even much less refined as Abdul Carter. It's not about pass rush moves from the edge. He didn't play full time on the edge at Georgia. And his ability to get through blocks is more like I'm running through. It's like a running back. This is the way I explain Jalon Walker. He's like a running back running through arm tackles, right? Mm-hmm. Not technique. It's not hand placement. It's not all these moves. He just goes and gets there. And he's fun to watch. But man, it is rich for me to spend a top 10 draft pick. And certainly I wouldn't do it if I was running a team with a 4-man line for a 6'1", 240-pound edge rusher. And it's not like he threw down some crazy 4.4, 4.5 speed.
Yeah, right.
40 at all leading up. Like, you have to do a lot of projecting with Jalon Walker, and he doesn't even have the full athletic profile for you to project that. And he doesn't have the film to project that, in my opinion, as fun of a player as he is. So he can't be my edge number 2 in this class. And so then you ask the question, well, who is edge 2? Well, how about a guy who's actually got the prototype, a little more prototype size, 6'3", 250, very similar to Abdul Carter, just a little bit shorter arm length, 32 3/8, but he had 17 and a half sacks last year, and he did it, some of it against big-time competition. I know there's some off-field, but if we're talking about just who the next best defensive end pass rusher is, for me, it's Mike Green's number 2.
Yep, you beat me to it. That's my number 2 as well. I do believe the hype that Walker will go early and that the league loves him, blah, blah, blah. I just don't know that that's the right call. I think some of that's just the product of this group.
And I would like him a lot more for, say, the Steelers than the 49ers.
Sure. Good point.
Like, if he goes to that team, I could see the fit, and I could see it working out a lot more. Like, I see him getting mocked to these teams that run a true 4-3, and like, maybe play some linebacker, then play some edge. It's like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't like that.
There's not many that are built like him that produce double-digit sacks every year. You know, I mean, they can handle line of scrimmage and the run duties and all that too. So yeah, Green is my 2. I think Mykel Williams is my 3, and then Walker.
I'm with you. I've got Mykel Williams as my 3, and then if you have to take Mike Green off the board because of the off-field, you're not comfortable with it, Mykel Williams becomes defensive end number 2. And he's like, Mykel Williams kind of grew on me throughout this draft process. And the reason is because we've kind of talked about it with some of these other guys, but he's the only guy that checks the boxes. You start going through everything. Okay.
A lot of these guys have flaws. Like, as good as this class is, the top edges are far from perfect.
Yeah. And so Mykel Williams, you go through it. All right. 6'5", 267. Prototype, like, that is how you draw up your defensive ends. Long arms, nearly 35-inch arm length, 10 1/4-inch hands, and unlike a lot of these other guys, he threw down a 40 at 6'5", 267. He's like, yeah, I'm not afraid of it. Then he didn't blaze, he didn't run 4.47 like James Pierce, but again, he's 25 pounds heavier than James Pierce, and he ran a 4.77, which is a good number for a guy who's prototype 6'5", 267. And unlike some of these other stand-up type rushers for a 4-down team, he could stop the run. And so he's got a super high floor. He's 20 years old. He's younger than all of these guys that we're going to talk about today. And he has some sack production, played a little bit more inside. I think there's a lot more that you can project with an upside of what he can be as a pass rusher as well in the NFL. Leader, team captain at Georgia, right? So you start looking at all these guys like, oh man, this guy's got, doesn't have the length profile we're looking for. Oh, this guy, I don't know if he's going to be an every down defensive end for us. Oh, this guy's got some character off the field. This guy maybe has a high floor, low ceiling, or this guy's got, the high ceiling, but the floor is low, really, really boom or bust. Mykel Williams is the cleanest of all of them. And so when you start stacking that stuff up together, and here's one other aspect of this, which is why you shouldn't be surprised if Mykel Williams is the second defensive end off the board and, maybe surprises some people and goes top 10, even though I think he's further down, like in the teens on the consensus boards, is because it's still a big man's game, and NFL GMs in the end, they're like, okay, cool. This guy can rush on 3rd and 8, but you got to get to 3rd down and 8 first.
Mm-hmm. Then give me the big guy. Yeah, I mean, 100%. So I don't have much to expand. I agree with everything you said about him. I wish and some of it, he did play through injury last year. I mean, if he was a little twitchier, a little more explosive, closing burst was a little better, I think it's him and Carter at the top of the board. And then, you can have that conversation.
Yeah. And then you look at a guy like Shamar Stewart, who's, ranked very highly and in a similar spot with Mykel Williams, who had 1.5 sacks in 3 different seasons. Like Mykel Williams is like, well, I might not have had quite the production, but man, okay, let's say I didn't play through, which, you check off the box of toughness as well for Mykel Williams. If he didn't play through, he would argue if I didn't play through a high ankle sprain all year and I was allowed to play a pure end and not have to play this 4-5 technique inside, and then I would have even a lot more production. And I had as many sacks in my freshman year on a stacked D-line national championship Georgia team as Shamar Stewart had in his entire college career. So he still has some production.
Strong point,
like a little bit more. And I get it's not as fun. You put on Walker, who got to have a lot more fun on that. Dude, if you give Williams some of Walker's pass rush reps, by the way, because he's outside of Williams and have more fun coming off the edge. His production would be higher as well, is what Mykel Williams, I think, would argue and is probably telling teams in this process.
Yeah. So our top 3 are the same, right?
Identical top 3. So let's keep going through the rest of our edge rushers, our defensive ends. I want to talk through some of the guys that I think might fall, some of the guys who might go a little bit higher than we expect. And then we'll talk defensive tackles, which is the deepest position group in the entire NFL draft. Next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Upwork. And scaling your business can be one of the most difficult things, and you need the right expertise at the right time when you're building that thing. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and so much more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. I actually worked as a freelancer for a time at Upwork when I was early in the podcasting game, helping other people scale up their podcast before it just became my full-time thing, hosting my own podcast. And that was it. And I didn't have time to help anybody else with their podcast. So Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project for a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Find the right talent, whatever it is, freelance expert delivering incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple on Upwork, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates to choose from. So visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. It's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. So here we go. Our top 3 looks good. And I think we've talked about why the rest of our rankings are going to look like they do, Matt. So after Carter, Green, Williams, where do you go at the defensive end / edge rusher position?
Now I'm putting Walker in there. I mean, I do think you have to respect that he's a very good football player, right? And he does do a lot of good stuff. Asking him to be an every down player and as a base end isn't what he's meant to do, but I do respect what he does do well.
This is where it gets very difficult to me. And Shamar Stewart. So I don't think people should be shocked by Shamar Stewart going really high because, again, less production, but even more explosive ability than Mykel Williams. And again, the size and the floor of being a good run defender. And then you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping with the pass rush stuff. But I think you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping with Jalon Walker too, right? And then you have Pierce and Ezraku, which would be the next guys for me as well. And I don't think they're a fit for every team. I don't think they're going to be run defending defensive ends in the NFL. So either they're stand-up rushers or maybe even rotational guys to start their careers. But when I look at Ezraku and I compare him with Jalon Walker, I'm like, well, wait a second. Ezraku, 6'2.5", 248, longer arms, 34 inches, more production as a pass rusher off the edge. You're going to ask them to play the same position in the NFL. How is Donovan Ezraku not a better prospect than Jalon Walker? And so I keep
funny because he's my 5. they're neck and neck for me, right?
I kind of have to go Ezraku here. Neither ran a 40 time. Ezraku did have the ridiculous 3-cone, which is one of the best things you can see for a pass rusher. So you're like, okay, 2 more pounds on him. Now we have a 250-pound edge rusher with 34-inch arms, with tons of production in college, with a pass rush arsenal all ready to go, and ridiculous 3-cone, you could talk me into Ezeraku. So I would put Ezeraku actually next, and I'd have him ahead of Jalon Walker. And then I would go Pierce, Walker, Shamar Stewart. That's my ranking.
Okay. I'm going to go Walker, Ezeraku, who also is a very good run defender. Then I think I get into Stewart, Pierce. I could see both of those guys failing, Stewart and Pierce. Stewart's run defense is bad too. Like he doesn't play. He just doesn't see the game well.
It's hit or miss. He is just. It's just that pitcher who has just a fastball, and they've gotten through the ranks. And when he throws the fastball in the strike zone, guys can't hit it. But he doesn't really have great control of it. He doesn't have any secondary pitches. That's it. And Shamar Stewart, watching him, and you watch his get off, it's ridiculous. It's like, man, this guy has an instant advantage every single snap. 6'5", 267, identical to Mykel Williams size-wise. But he ran a 4.59. He gets off the line ridiculous. He's got the same long arms that Mykel Williams has. And then after that initial burst, and he's got the advantage on every snap against every defensive or every offensive tackle he plays against, and then nothing else. Like literally nothing. He can't turn the corner. He has no counter moves. He gets moved out. I saw him get put on the ground by Armand Membo, and it's just like, gosh, you really have to believe you can teach him just about everything. And I just think for him, it's biomechanically. I just don't know if he has that. I just don't know if his body, the way it moves, is going to have the ability to flex and move and become a pass rusher in the NFL. That's why I'm a little bit lower on Shamar Stewart.
Yeah,
he's there for me in the second round. I'll take a chance on that. I'm not doing it after the first round, but he might go there.
I think he'll go high. I mean, I look at like Cincinnati, as you get past them, big end that you can develop, teams like that.
Pierce is kind of like that as well, just like an all fastball guy. He at least has like one other secondary pitch, and he's got a lot more production too, which is really. I
wish he jumped better, and he's got looks like a 20-inch waist. He looks like a 12-year-old boy's waist.
He was wearing that number 27 in college too, and it's like it looks like a wide receiver playing the wrong side of the ball. And I don't think he's got the frame, narrow hips. I don't think he's going to get bigger. Right.
So no, I don't either.
You don't have an undersized. But if you run that 3-4 and he's playing a stand up outside linebacker position for you, that's where he's going to hit. Right. And I kind of like that for Ezeraku, and I like that for Walker as well. So the 3-4 teams might like Pierce, Ezeraku, Walker a little bit more. The other teams might really gravitate towards Mykel Williams, Shamar Stewart, maybe Landon Jackson, JTT.
I like both those guys. Yeah.
Nick Scorton, I think, is one of my favorites. He would be the next guy for me. And if I was, a team in the early second round hoping to get one of the few like pure every down defensive ends, Nick Scorton would be probably my guy. And I could buy that you would rank Scorton. These guys are all really close to me. Like,
let's go watch a Purdue tape.
7. Yeah. I think I could buy the argument that Scorton's number 4.
And I was thinking that too, because he's bigger and stout and strong, and
And that's what happens with this class is you run out of prospects and there's so many pass rushers, and there's some big ends, and there's a bunch of other players we can talk about. And there's a lot of those stand-up type edge rushers in this class. So a team like the Steelers is probably licking their chops. It's like, man, we got defensive tackles, we got 5 techs, we got stand-up rushers. Like, it doesn't happen every year where there's that many options for those teams. Right. For the teams with the 4-man fronts, after Nick Scorton, you start to run out of pure defensive ends that could play every down for you, that could stop the run, that could give you a pass rush, which is why Scorton could go high, and he ends up maybe a first-round pick.
Yeah, I get all that, especially if you go back to the Purdue stuff. And A&M isn't exactly great for production for D-line, obviously.
No doubt. Absolutely. Any favorite sleepers here before we move on to defensive tackle?
Not really. You mentioned a bunch of them. They're not really sleepers. I think Prince Yu could end up with a bunch of sacks in this league when it's all said and done. I'm just scrolling through the list here if there's anyone deep down the list that I'm super excited about.
There's so many rotational rushers. Josiah Stewart,
Swinson.
Yeah, exactly. David Walker, 6'1", 260 out of Central Arkansas, ridiculously productive player, ran 4.69. I think he's a guy that could come in, but you're not going to project him to be anything more than a rotational guy for you, probably. Maybe. And again, another nice fit for the 3-4 teams. There's a lot of hype for Oluwafemi Oladejo out of UCLA.
Yeah.
260, a bulked up former off-ball linebacker. He's got length. He's got power, high character guy. Again, it's like, man, give me Oladejo in the 3rd, 4th round over taking a Jalon Walker the top 10 pick. You know, just doesn't have as good of a PR team because similarly, he doesn't have a pass rush repertoire. Like I watch him play, like he's got a lot of work to do as a pass rusher.
A lot of work.
He doesn't have the technique.
And now you're hearing about him as a surefire day 2 guy. Like early in the process, I'm like, that's a 4 or 5. That's a nice sleeper. But now there's no sleepers anywhere. Everybody knows everybody, you know?
Right. Yeah. So a lot of rotational guys at defensive end, not as many pure every down 4-3 defensive ends that you could play 3 down, project the 3 down, which is why I think maybe those guys go early. Maybe defensive tackles teams wait on them because there is a million defensive
There's so
tackles.
many. Especially like nose types, you know.
So you said for maybe the Steelers, Mason Graham wouldn't be your top defensive tackle, but as far as like generic team, is he your top defensive tackle in this class?
He is, but I would have a hard time using the 4th or 5th pick in the draft on the guy. I mean, I think ideally he's a situational pass rusher. I think he's more Geno Atkins than he is Quinnen Williams or Chris Jones, or, you know, I mean, he's small. He's not a good athlete. He's on the ground a lot. I mean, but he's a good football player. I don't see an elite prospect there, but yeah, I think it just speaks to this draft.
I just see a player that teams are going to love. You put on the tape. He's got leverage, former wrestler.
Yeah.
He was the guy that opposing offenses wanted to double team over Kenneth Grant, which I think is really telling. High effort player. He's not a body beautiful guy. You know, Kenneth Grant really wins when you get off the bus with that defensive line, but Graham was the better player and other teams treated Graham like the better player. But again, incomplete profile, and the profile you have, he came in much lighter than we thought, listed at 320. He's 6'3.5", 306, shorter arms. He's a try-hard guy, and you love him, but I could buy that teams let him drop a little bit and even potentially get out of the top 10, but, you know, he'll probably go pick 5.
Right. I mean, it's getting pretty chalky with the Jags at 5, and I just don't think most years he's close to the 5th best player in the draft.
But at the same time, like when we overanalyze all these prospects too, and maybe that's part of it with Graham. You know, in 5 years, you look back and you're like, what were you even worried about with Graham? He's good. He's awesome. And he was still awesome. Like that's all that really matters in the end. And that's why he's going to be the top DT.
He was really good at a huge school and won the national championship last year. And, you know, it was a big reason why. And
he stops
it translated. Yeah.
Pressures the quarterback. Okay, good. Let me have that player. Thank you.
Right.
After who's your 2 then?
This is my problem. So I believe that the Steelers' first round pick is either going to be Nolen, Harmon, or Grant. Yep. And every day I rank them differently in my brain. So generically, I think I would go Nolen, Harmon, Grant. But for the Steelers, I go back and forth all the time, and I'd be very happy with any of the above.
All right, we see this defensive tackle class very similarly, and we kind of saw the top of the edge class very similarly as well. I wonder if teams will agree with us. My clear defensive tackle 2 next, and we'll get into a deep class and how we like these players next. This episode of Peacock Williamson brought to you by Amazon Fire TV 4K. We're talking 4K here. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K. It's a long name, but there's a lot of technology in this thing with the Fire TV Stick 4K. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25. Play with all these prospects we're talking about today. Call of Duty, Black Ops, so much more. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And we talked about streaming and your favorite shows. How about this? 4K streaming, endless entertainment, more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes at your fingertips from your favorite subscribe services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Yeah, we're talking about an affordable, portable gaming and entertainment hub with the Fire TV Stick 4K. And all you got to do is head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. That is Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Walter Nolen is my easy defensive tackle too.
Yep.
There's some character stuff that teams are talking about. He's been at 5 schools in 6 years, 3 high schools and 2 colleges. He's a mercenary. I don't know. You sign contracts in the NFL. Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? Right? There's no NIL in the NFL. He plays hard. He's got a motor. He is dynamic.
So
he's
strong too.
He's going to be a better and better pass rusher with his ability. He's twitchy. He is so powerful. He just pushes guys straight into the quarterback when he wants to. He's a super talented guy, and he would be the one player I would argue you could say, he's actually DT1 and better than Mason Graham. So if you're cool with his off field, he's easy DT2. I think he's a top 10 guy, top 15 guy all day long. Now he might not go there, but he's clearly my defensive tackle too. I would go Grant next and then Harmon. Harmon's kind of growing on me. He's such a flash player though.
Funny,
I see so many Harmon reps where he's like, oh, I love that. This guy's awesome. He's the best defensive tackle in this class. And I'll see some other reps where it's like, man, you're just getting taken right out of this play. I don't like it. And so it's really boom or bust. It's all over the place, really high end stuff. And then some other stuff where it's like, I don't know, kind of like a skinny ankles and like
top heavy. Yeah.
And it's like where you're getting pushed out of here too much, man. You got to have some gap responsibility, Derek.
And some of it's scheme with a lot of twisting and stunning, but and a month ago on my Steelers show, I would say I'll take Grant or Nolen at 21, no problem. I don't know about Harmon, but he's growing on me too. I would take him at 21 now. Like the more I watch him, the length, the immediate pass rush I think he provides, the action. He's very, very active, and there's a lot going on there. So he's growing on me too. It's funny those are the words you used.
And he threw down the testing to go with it, which helps I think a lot because Nolen didn't, and Mason Graham didn't. And so when 4.95 40, 1.74 10-yard split, he's got big hands, long arms, 6'4.5", 313, and with the length profile too. And again, you're looking at a team like the Steelers, that classic 5-tech interior defensive lineman, right? Could he be
from Cam Hayward?
Cam Hayward eventual sort of replacement. Like
that's what I'm looking for in all 3 of these guys. That's why that's their first pick.
Kenneth Grant reminds me a little bit of, remember Haloti Ngata?
I've used that exact comparison. I mentioned Vita Vea and Haloti Ngata.
Because he is so big and athletic. There might be more there as a pass rusher.
I think there is.
I love about him. He can run down the line. As a 330-pound defensive lineman, he could play the nose, but he could kind of play off and play even some other techniques along.
He could do some 3-4 end stuff too with his length, and
because that's what Ngata did. Ngata, Ngata coming out was like, oh, this guy's 340 pounds or whatever. He's a clear nose tackle. He was playing like 5-tech for the Ravens.
Yep, I see a lot of similarities. I've used that for a month or two now. I like all 3 of these guys a lot, and again, I went Nolen, Harmon, Grant. But that sounds like I'm dinging Grant, but it's mostly just because right now he's the least pass rusher of the group. But I don't think he's just a stump in the middle.
I've got one, so that's kind of like its own group right there. Those are the sort of probably the late first round guys. And if you get one of those guys in the early second round, you're probably doing backflips.
What I really want is all 3 to be sitting there at 21, move down 5 spots, and then let them decide for me. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think there's one guy who's in a tier all by himself for me in the early second round range. That's Tyleik Williams.
Yep, me too. He's my clear 5. I don't think he's just a nose Casey Hampton either.
He can do that. I think he's.
Oh, he can do it.
Of all these guys, he's the best run defending defensive tackle. And again, he's very similar as far as height, weight, speed, and what you're talking about athleticism wise. Kenneth Grant might be a little bit looser of an athlete. And Grant did run the 5.13. I wonder what.
Yeah, I think he had more range.
Run in the 40. He didn't do it. But Tyleik Williams, a little shorter armed than Kenneth Grant. But man, if you want somebody that is going to destroy you on the inside and can take up blocks, Tyleik Williams is your guy. 6'3", 330. And he's got some twitch to him. He can get upfield.
I think the pass rush is coming.
And it doesn't, you don't have to you don't have to get 10 sacks. Just be good enough to be able to penetrate and get up the field a little bit and pressure quarterbacks on third downs is all you have to do. And I think Tyleik Williams can do that.
Me too. I think his pass rush production will be better in the pros 4 sacks a year. I mean, I'm not talking about like 12. I don't think he's Javon Hargrave in his prime or something like that. I mean, but I think he's a developing pass rusher that immediately makes your run defense really, really good. Tons of talent. He's my clear 5.
Then I think it's the wild, wild west as far as
we just start spitting out names. Yeah.
And like, there's some that I like more than others. Everyone seems to love Darius Alexander and Alfred Collins. I don't like either one of them where I think they're going to go. Alfred Collins is not a 3-down player. He is massive.
Boy, is he big though, right?
Almost 6'6", 330, 35-inch arms. He's almost too big for the interior though, which is my problem. He's got no third down ability. And unlike Mykel Williams and Kenneth Grant that we've talked about, he can't run down the line and string runs out to the outside. I don't think he's twitchy getting upfield. He just can bat you out of the way because he's so massive. But aside from being huge, I don't see a lot else there. And so I really don't like taking him. And he's probably going to go in the second round, maybe the third round. I think he's a day 3 guy for me as just kind of a nose tackle, and that's it. Unlike the other guys, Darius Alexander is almost like a poor man's version of Derek Harmon, where it's like, you want to see more. He just stays blocked. I'm watching him and I'm like, nah, I'm out. He stays blocked and I don't want that.
I agree with a lot of that. I think I like both players more than you do. I think they're my 6 and 7, probably Alexander over Collins. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, that's why, to me, Collins and Grant are very different. I mean, they might look similar when they walk in the room, but they are pretty different.
My 6 would be TJ Sanders.
I get it. Yeah.
Part of it is I was a little bit worried that he was going to be just a rotational interior rusher, or maybe some team would have to try to use him maybe base downs as an end and move him inside. But man, he showed up at 300 pounds. I thought he was going to show up 285, right?
I thought he was going to be Geno Atkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
So he's 6'4", 305 and ran sub 5, 4.95. Like, I knew he was going to run good because of the athleticism. I think he might have talked teams into being like, no, I'm a defensive tackle every down. I'm good. Love the way he plays pass rush. He's got burst and juice as a rusher. So I'm a big fan of TJ Sanders, and it would be awesome to be able to sort of pair someone like TJ Sanders with Mykel Williams. You get your 3-tech in your nose and you're good inside.
Mm-hmm. And we've gone back and forth. Can Sanders be a 3-4 end? Well, you're in nickel or dime 60% of the time anyway. I mean, he could be a 4-man front guy.
Yeah, I love him for the role. He could absolutely do that.
Yeah,
5 technique, 3 technique. That's what he is.
Yeah, he's different than I thought he was just casually watching him to begin the process. I'm like, undersized, quick guy, beats you with 3 technique only, but there's more there. This class is so crazy. I mean, I've spent more attention to the noses than I bet you did, because I think the Steelers need a nose. But Josh Farmer, Cam Jackson, Jordan Phillips, Peebles, Caldwell. I don't like Deonte Walker at all. CJ West, Pegues. I mean, you're going to get a 5th round nose, Yaya Black, a 5th or 6th round nose that's a power player, that's a full grown man in this draft if you're in the market.
Jamari Caldwell's kind of my favorite.
I like him a lot
because I think you can get him on day 3. He's got a bad body.
Oh, yeah, he's got a huge belly, and he jiggles and wiggles, and
he gets out of his stance quick, man.
Yes.
I think he can give you a little pass rush. He's a surprising player. It's like, he looks bad body, but man, CJ West is kind of just rock solid inside, tested really well, which helps him. So if we're talking about in the 4th round range, nose tackle that could give you a little bit more push, I like Caldwell and CJ West quite a bit. And
I think Phillips is a wrestler that's developing, and he's just a rock in the middle too. I mean, again, there's a lot of noses, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do for Phillips. He looks the part, like a bodybuilder, but it's like, I don't know. 3rd-year sophomore, you're kind of just taking a flyer, and you need some development. He may not be able to play right away.
No, I think there's some truth there. And then there's the other dudes that we haven't mentioned too that aren't really noses. Shamar Turner's a good prospect. The other Ohio State dude, Ty Hamilton, Ty Robinson, I think is an active player. And then Norman-Lott, might he be the best interior pass rusher of the group, but he only plays 10 snaps a game? I mean, yeah.
I don't get Omar Norman-Lott because I can't draft him early. And I him in the 2nd round. You can't take him in the 2nd round. He's 6'1", a little under 6'2". He was 290. I think he bulked up for his pro day and got up to 300, but come on, like,
that's a he's not for every scheme for sure.
Yeah.
But on 3rd and 8, I want him.
And he didn't even test that well.
I know. I thought he'd be the supreme tester specimen.
He played like less than
his pass rush. Yeah, his pass rush win rate is awesome, but
yeah,
he hasn't that many reps.
He's so that he'll fall, but if he goes where he should, then I love him again because I think he's a rotational interior rusher. And if you draft him in a place where you draft the rotational guys, then that means he is. And I think Brugler is one of the first people to actually put him in the right spot. Late third, early fourth. He's defensive tackle 15 for Dean Brugler. I love him in that range, but if I have to take him in the second round, I'm out. Give me TJ Sanders.
Yeah, if he's like the Chiefs' end of third round pick, and I only use him next to Chris Jones on third down with a lead, that might go pretty well.
Oh, and Jay Toya, the UCLA, another nose tackle. Like,
bottle,
dude, if you need a nose tackle, I mean, you're in a candy store in this draft.
I know. So I know this isn't a Steelers show, but like when I have to pick between Grant and Nolen and Harmon, I usually don't take Grant because I know in the fifth round I'll get Caldwell or West or a nosier guy. You know what I mean?
Ty Robinson, an interesting one as well. I don't know if you mentioned Ty Robinson.
He's a wrecking machine.
Yeah, wrecking machine.
Tested better than I thought too.
3 technique. He might be another one of those, big defensive end 5 technique types. He's 6'5.5", 288, so a little lighter, but was awesome at the combine. Showed his athleticism. Doesn't have quite the arm length, which is why he should be inside probably. But
another really to play against,
and getting him in the third round. Love him as well. So I mean, just a really deep class, and maybe that's why you might say, you know what, I'm going to draft one of these complete defensive ends early in round 1 because I know on day 2 I can just pick off all kinds of different defensive tackles, in day 3 even.
Yeah, a wide variety of types at the D tackle spot too. 100%.
There you go. Who's your favorite defensive lineman in this draft? Let us know at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Matt and I back tomorrow right here. Peacock and Williamson.